deal? What's the deal? What's the deal, man? Little Travis from Makers Home. We live right now, man. We got Camilo on the screen, dog. That's who we dealing with today. We got Camilo on the screen. Shout out to everybody coming through. Y'all know what time it is, man. What's the deal? What's the deal, man? We got Camilo on the screen, dog. Camilo didn't do nothing, man. And that's what we sticking with. You know what I'm telling you? He didn't do nothing, man. Not guilty. Well, that's crazy. Yeah, not guilty. All right, let's go ahead and do what we need to do real quick. Shout out to everybody coming through, man. Camilo Anthony, not guilty, man. That's all we waiting for. You know what I'm saying? Before then, we about to go and catch us a vibe real quick. What's the deal? What's the deal? Everybody go and hit that like button, man. Turn us up on them lights, man. Little Traffic Makers Home. We live right now, baby. Oh shit, I'm about. Oh, it's time to get it, baby. You know, a hater, man, gonna move around. We don't want no haters around us. We only want good people. Hey, and it's hard. I know they won't move around. You go, my nigga. I'm moving into it, go, my nigga. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah. I understand. Yeah, yeah. Make me stop finding. Hey, what's the deal, everybody? Man, go double tap that screen, man. Hey, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's all I know. It's all move on. Go, I'm gonna fuck up. I'm about to think how. What's the deal, everybody? What's the deal? What's the deal? If it's hell, I take. If you say keep going. I know they gone, we can move on, but I ain't let go, my nigga. Until let go, my nigga. It's all I know. They won't move on. If it's still, cool. All right, we about to go. Yeah, we the
First
giant.
thing is the big
We the
story that we're
elephant.
following
On
is
Hoover
the
out, nigga.
Frisco ISD, the track meet
stabbing.
murders. Yes, the murder case that's been going on. We just found out that closing arguments have ended in this case. And so now this case is going to go to the jury. And this wrapped up much quicker than expected. They were saying it could take 2 weeks, but now it's in the hands of the jury.
Right. And we'll see how long they deliberate and if it goes into any kind of sentencing phase after that, if they do find him guilty of murder or of a lesser charge of manslaughter. So the jury right now, the verdict is in their hands. We'll wait to see when that decision comes down. Most people will recall the details of this case. A former Frisco ISD student accused of stabbing and killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet last year. So we have a bit of a recap we can do. No cameras have been allowed inside the courtroom for any of the testimony, any the opening statements, the closing arguments, any of it. So we rely on our crew, our reporter, Lori Brown, who is inside providing live updates for us. And I've gone through all of her updates this morning as she listened in on those closing arguments. So typically the prosecution, the state would have the first word and the last word when it comes to closing arguments.
That didn't happen.
They waived that. They said, we're just going to respond. We'll let the defense go first, and then we will respond to that. So defense attorneys for Carmelo Anthony first addressed the jury. They're trying to prove
What's going down, everybody? Free.
That's their main point here.
Free Pooh
Defense
Shiesty.
attorney Mike Howard
Free
started out by
All-Star
telling the
JR.
jurors that Austin Metcalf, the victim in this case, did not have the right to use force to eject Carmelo Anthony from the Memorial High School team tent. They say this was a public place. They say that's the root of the fight, right? That Carmelo Anthony came and sat under this tent that didn't belong to his school. And then a fight started from there that they were trying to remove him from that tent. So the defense attorneys are trying to make the point, first of all, he had a right to be there. It was raining outside. It was really bad weather. And it was reasonable, they say, that Carmelo Anthony would want to take cover during that. And they told the jury that they really need to consider the facts from Carmelo Anthony's point of view. They're saying that he was seated the whole time, that the other students were trying to use force to eject him. And they're saying then he returned force. So,
which we heard different things from different witnesses on the stand as we've been listening to this, because some of the like athletic coaches or trainers that were there and some of the other witnesses basically said that those tents sometimes are more like a locker room. That's where the kids keep their personal items and stuff, and that you're not really supposed to be in other people's tents. So it's almost like tent etiquette that we've had play out on the stand.
Right. So, and those might be more of like the rules from the school standpoint. And then students say, oh yeah, but when you get to the track meet, people kind of wander between the different schools and say hi to friends or people they may know as well. So that a lot of people said too, it's not uncommon that students would interact underneath their tents, especially in bad weather. But the defense also really wanted to point out that Austin Metcalf was much larger than Carmelo Anthony. They say he's 6'1", 213 pounds. Carmelo Anthony is 5'7", 130. So trying to point out that he would have felt intimidated in that moment. They're also saying, attorneys said, according to the testimony that the jury heard, Carmelo was emotional and did not believe that Austin Metcalf was going to die. They also focused a lot on the knife itself. You know, how large was it? What did the wound look like? They say that was, while it was against school policy, not a crime to have at the stadium. So again, they're trying to make this point that they believe
the whole thing
Carmelo
about it,
Anthony
y'all was talking about
they
he
say
had
he
it
gave a
in the
warning telling
schoolhouse.
Austin,
No, he had it
touch me
outside.
and find out what happened.
Which makes
have
a
that bitch
very
outside.
interesting case for
That's what I've been arguing about the whole time.
And also,
Motherfuckers
then there was
coming
also,
in my chest trying to tell me
that it's
I'm
really
the
hard
one
to say
that
it was
been
self-defense. They said a shove could be met with a shove.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But when you
Me
turn
and my
it to
homeboys,
deadly
you know?
force,
That's not equal.
They gonna
That's
come
not
in here
Well,
trying
that's
to
the
tell
point
me.
that
which
then
was a big point, I think, that was pointed out here.
Well, and so that was in the
Nigga, we were
response. The prosecutor,
avoiding the
Bill
laws
Orski,
every
was
day.
really
Nigga,
going
you
through
think
all
we
the
don't know
reasons
what the
that
fuck we
self-defense
talking
would
about?
not
And we was
apply in
avoiding
this
the laws
case.
every day.
Let's bring in our Dallas criminal defense attorney, Russell Wilson, who's been following this case really closely as we take a live look at the courthouse. courthouse there. Mr. Wilson, I'm curious, when you hear that it was said, touch me and see what happens right before the stabbing, does that, as a lawyer, could you still make self-defense a claim in this, or does that kind of throw that
Man,
whole
you are,
idea
hey,
out?
it's already,
No,
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you
you
can still
can.
make the self-defense
Yeah,
claim
you
off of
can.
touch me
Man,
and
that
see
hoe's
what
stupid.
happens.
Man,
I
them
think you have
goddamn,
to just
that
kind
hoe's
of,
stupid.
if
Yeah,
you're the
that's his
defense, you're
claim. Talking
saying
about can he
this
make
is
the
your
claim? Bitch,
warning
he
to the
made the
person
claim. Stupid hoe.
to not
The fuck?
engage with me,
He
and that
made the
if you
claim.
do, I
That's
will
his claim.
defend myself.
Self-defense.
And so I
Stupid
don't think
motherfucker.
that language necessarily limits. One could say, as the state did, that this is provocative language, that you're inviting the contact by saying, touch me and see what happens. But I
That's
think
a
the defense would
goddamn
be
lie.
arguing, no, this is, defensive
Letting
language
somebody
to try
know,
to
don't put your
discourage the
hands on
person
me.
from touching you.
Were you
Please
surprised
don't
that
touch
Carmelo
me.
Anthony didn't take the stand?
No, after understanding the description of the body camera videos, I think that for the defense, if you had him remorseful for his conduct and compliant with the police commands, I think that was probably the best position that you could get in. Certainly testifying regarding it years later, and after having sat all day in trial and stuff, may not have been as impactful as the live body camera audio and video that the jury saw. So not
Man, we already
necessarily
know what's up.
surprised, but also not
That boy
necessarily
ain't do
aware,
nothing.
until we heard about it in trial.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge has told people and told the jury not to go on social media. Of course, we know how this case has taken on a life of its own on social media. A lot of misinformation, a lot of rumors. It's very racially charged. How difficult is that as an attorney in a case like this to also deal with that aspect of it?
We don't worry about that.
During voir
We ain't
dire,
worried
you
about
try
that.
to get an understanding of the jurors'
Yeah.
social media history. If they regularly are on internet or X, formerly known as Twitter, or TikTok, or any other social media, most of the time jurors will take these warnings from the judges very seriously, though. So if the judge conducts themselves in a way that causes the jurors to believe that if they go into social media, they could face some type of consequence, then they're usually at least less likely to violate that policy. But there's certainly friends and family that may have some awareness that they're on a jury trial in Collin County, and it's hard to filter out all the influence. But the fact that you're sitting there in the courtroom and seeing it live firsthand, you usually are able to think of what you personally recall, as opposed to how somebody in the media or somebody on social media may recount the events.
Yeah. So jury has this case now. From what you've seen of what's happened in court and the witnesses that were brought forward, I know you can't say exactly what the jury's going to decide, but how long typically, I guess, it depends on if there's somebody, but how long does it typically go where we might see a decision that could be made? I mean, it could be right away or it could be a while, right?
There's a few things that I think may cause the decision to be more rapid.
Okay.
One is the judge told the jurors that he was going to sequester them. And when you know that you're going to be sequestered, you mean you're going to be put in a hotel room and essentially guarded by a sheriff. There's a preference for most folks to be able to sleep at their own homes and engage with their own families and loved ones. So I think that might be sitting in the back of the juror's mind, and that if we don't reach a verdict today, or certainly by close of business, and then they worked through on Saturday as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the pace has been more faster, I guess, than necessarily most trials. But then, frankly, the issues of dispute are rather small, though. There's this component of whether or not it's reasonable to use this force in this circumstance. And then I think there's this consideration of a lesser So there's not necessarily a whole lot of issues. This is an encounter that happens very quickly. So I think those things will probably push a faster jury verdict.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Dallas criminal defense attorney Russell Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Thank y'all.
Of course, as we mentioned, we do have Lori Brown in the courtroom, so she's going to be following this all day long as these jury deliberations get underway. But again, they will not be going home tonight, that jury, if they
Right.
have not made a decision.
Right. And that definitely puts the pressure on
We
you a
ain't
little bit,
tripping.
as he said, you know, when
Yeah.
you hear
You know what I'm
these
telling you? We
situations, you're
already,
like,
it shouldn't
let's
shouldn't
wrap
take
this
that
up,
long
get a decision
anyway.
done, and
You know what I'm telling you?
see.
So stay with Fox 4 for the very latest. We will have continuing coverage, no doubt.
Yeah, we will
In the
too.
next 5 seconds, you'll see an idea go from
We'll
sketch to
sit
clay,
to that.
clay to shape.
We will too. Shout out to everybody coming through, man. We about to go in and fuck with Unc real quick because I gotta laugh. You know, tell the shout out to Willie D, man. We gotta go over and fuck with Unc real quick and see what he talking about. Oh shit. You know, Willie D gonna keep it 100 with us, man. And you know, tell him he ain't gonna use all them big words and none of that shit. You know, tell him he gonna keep it plain and simple. You know, tell him, so shout out to Willie D. You know, tell him we can come over here and listen to somebody that's gonna keep it plain and simple.
A few jobs and
Willie D Live.
what's up, family?
What's the deal?
Jason Whitlock is at it again. If you don't know who he is, he's a failed sports columnist.
That nigga
Yeah,
said
he couldn't make it, fam. The dude had a few jobs and
Oh, say
Nah,
that nigga say he
he's
couldn't
just
make it.
online spewing division and throwing black people under the bus. If you're not familiar with Jason Whitlock, here's a picture of him. Yeah, fam. That's Jason as an infant. His nickname is Ham Hock.
That
Jason
nigga said
Ham Hock.
nigga.
But his
Oh,
family name is Whitlock. You know, close enough. But this is Big Mouth Jason Whitlock now. This dude, he's one of the biggest self-hating black people out there. He is an absolute C rhymes with moon.
What's the deal?
I'm talking about one of the biggest ones.
Cross was
And
going down.
all day long. He is the social commentator version of Clarence Thomas. 100% against black people. All the time, he finds the low hanging argument. All the time, he finds the worst in black people. And that's his platform. He gets paid by a lot of non-black people to spew this type of rhetoric about black folks. I can't believe that him and Stephen A. actually got into a squabble. I guess they was going after the title of Top Coon or something. I don't know.
Who won? Shit.
But yeah, they were, you know, they still are beefing, you know. That happens. So let me tell you what this sucker said, fam.
What he said?
This sucker hopped on a line and said that he could not wait until Carmelo Anthony was found guilty or is found guilty. He cannot wait until Carmelo Anthony is found guilty. Specifically, what he said is this. The parents were clearly paid to play this out and stir up division. He's saying that Carmelo Anthony's family was paid to stir up division. So his parents
Boss
want
man, what's
to
the deal? What's the deal?
go through all of this stuff just so they can divide an already divided country. Is that what he's talking about? Moving on. He also said that Carmelo Anthony murdered a child for no reason. He murdered a child. See, you got to be careful when you hear words, fam. You got to be careful how you ingest those words, right? He said he murdered a child for no reason. That statement makes one think that they were not the same age, right? He murdered a child. If you didn't know the story, you would think that they were not the same age. And although Jason Whitlock is on the low end of sports reporters and commentators, he's been around long enough to know how to use those words to manipulate people's opinions. He knows how to sway and he knows how to redirect the narrative. He said that he killed a child for no reason. And let's get into that. First of all, Austin Metcalf was not killed for no reason. Austin Metcalf was not just simply walking down the street and was attacked. He wasn't at the concession stand getting something to eat and somebody just started stabbing him. He wasn't just sitting down at, on the bleachers and, waiting on the rain to pass. He wasn't just sitting under a tent waiting on the rain to pass. No, Austin Metcalf took it upon himself to approach Carmelo Anthony. Right then and there was his fatal mistake. See, that's where it started. Let's get to the root. Let's get all the way to the beginning. Let's go to the beginning, since y'all love to talk about the beginning. How did it start? It started with Austin and his brother approaching Carmelo Anthony. If they don't approach Carmelo
that's how
Anthony,
it started. You goddamn right.
Austin more than likely is still alive unless he slipped and falled on something.
Yeah. Thanks.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive, nigga.
He's in college, probably playing football,
Thanks, man.
hanging out with the girls and the fellas, going to parties,
I know a bunch of niggas
studying for a test,
with somebody else.
doing college things, missing some mama home cooking,
Man, that nigga.
He's probably doing what most college kids do. But Austin decided, I'm going to confront this guy.
Yeah, he did.
See, when people confront others, they're not afraid. People who confront other people are not fearing for their life because they have an option to not confront that person. They have an option to not go towards that person. If he was scared and he feared for his life, he would go the other way. He wouldn't go toward the danger. He walked towards Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
And he told him, you don't belong under this tent. Get from under here.
And
that's not even his job. If it's anybody's job, it's a member of the school staff. It's a coach.
And then punched him in
or as a police officer. It's not a student's job to control students and tell students where they need to be and where they should be or shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's not their job. It wasn't his job.
Yeah, tell him, Mom. He
took it up on himself to play Billy Badass and went up to that boy and said, get for money. See, that worked a lot. That's work. That has worked through the years. I mean, we've seen a lot of videos of it. It has worked a lot. But sometimes it just don't work. It just don't work. So some of y'all listening to me right now got to ask yourself, because I know you're thinking about you want to do it too, and you probably have already done it. Is it worth it? Is it worth it rolling the dice? Because everybody ain't playing and everybody is not going to allow you to bully them. The reputation that Austin and his brother Hunter have that they are bullies. That's their reputation. They have a reputation for being bullies. Yeah. He approached Carmelo Anthony, whom he did not have to. Somebody who was actually invited under the tent. Carmelo Anthony was actually invited under the tent. He sat down, minding his business. Here come Austin. Get from under here. Warned him, do not touch me. He pushes him. Push. Why you putting your hands on people? Y'all know we don't like people putting their hands on people. And when they do, what do we all say? Well, he wouldn't have put his hands on them. Well, you know, that's what you get. You put your hands on somebody. That's what happens. So what's the problem now? Well, how come everybody not on code right now? How come we're not looking at this case in unison and agreeing that somebody put their hands on somebody? And while it's unfortunate that that person ended up dead, had they not put their hands on that person, they would probably still be alive. No logic there, right? You can't make that distinction because all you see is black and white. You see a white kid got killed by a black kid and can't have that. However, if it was the other way around, we wouldn't even be here. That wouldn't have even been charges filed. The reason why it took so long for the charges to be filed in the first place is because the DA had no case. It had no case. That's why it took so long. Jason Whitlock also said this. He said this, don't fall for the psyop. Most black people can't wait for this kid to be incarcerated and locked up and convicted. You must be talking about the 5 coons that you know, because most black people that I know do not want to see this boy go to prison. Most black people that I know are hoping for a not guilty verdict. Most black people that I know, even the black people that I know of, are in support of Carmelo Anthony. They're not in support that he killed Austin Metcalf. They understand that a youngster died. They understand that a young man lost his life doing something that a lot of young people often do. And that is bully. So they understand that. But they don't want to see the boy go to prison because they know he was right. They know that he feared for his life. Keep in mind, this wasn't just a one-on-one. The ball was jumped. This is according to the video evidence. And witnesses who were not friends of Austin Metcalf. It is reported that Carmelo Anthony was jumped by at least 5 boys. Now you ask yourself, would you just get jumped and you got a way to defend yourself? Or would you just lay there and take it and get jumped? Or would you do everything that you can to get your attackers off you? I know what my answer is. It's very, very easy. Very easy. Jason Whitlock is a traitor. He's a race traitor and a race baiter because all he sees is black issues and he go in. It don't have to be black against white. It could be any type of black person doing anything. And all he sees is the negative side. All he sees is how he can throw that black person under the bus, especially if it's a black person with a name, like, especially an athlete, a black athlete, a male black athlete. He gonna do everything he can to try to throw him under the bus. This uncivilized mutt is one of the worst of the worst. Look at him. You know he didn't get no girls in high school. You know the women didn't like him. Look at him, look like his breath stink. I can smell it through the screen. You know he didn't get no girls in high school. You know, and even right now, if he wanted a woman's company, he gonna have to pay. He pick up the phone right now and call any woman on this earth. Even if it's a woman with no legs, she gonna be like, how much we talking, fat boy? Real talk. This is a dude who didn't have any real friends, don't have any real friends now. This is a dude that can't get girls. This is a dude that idolizes and at the same time he envies all of the guys who actually made it in sports. So he couldn't make it in sports. Like Stephen A., he couldn't make it. So what did he do? The next best thing, he talk about it. Yeah, fam. Know his type. And also, since he always talking about justice, he's been saying that Carmelo Anthony is guilty from day one. Since you like to talk about being righteous and justice, what happened to the presumption of innocence? Yeah, I know. No more talk.
Unlock the world's largest, most liquid financial market with Forex.com. Forex, or FX, involves trade.
So watch this now, because in a few minutes' time, the closing arguments are set to begin. In the trial of Carmelo Anthony, a Texas teenager accused of stabbing and killing a competitor at a high school track meet. Anthony faces life in prison if convicted of murder. Brooke Taylor on this trial since the beginning, live outside the Collins County Courthouse in McKinney, Texas. And Brooke, hello.
Hi, Bill. Well, this trial has moved along a lot quicker than really anyone expected. The defense rested after calling 6 witnesses and ultimately decided not to call up Carmelo Anthony to the stand to testify in his own murder trial. So just as a recap right here, Carmelo Anthony is charged with murder. He pleaded not guilty after admitting to fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a high school track meet last April. The two teens didn't know each other and attended different schools. Investigators say the confrontation started after Anthony was sitting under a tent belonging to Metcalf's team. The defense has spent days arguing that Anthony acted in self-defense after Metcalf pushed him first. And now the question is whether they gave jurors enough evidence to believe it. The defense called one of Anthony's former teammates. He described Anthony as, quote, distraught after the stabbing, said he heard him crying and say, "I told him not to touch me." Now, prosecutors called 21 witnesses, including student after student, who testified that Anthony was repeatedly asked to leave and that he was the aggressor. Now, one witness testified that Metcalf told Anthony, quote, "I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, dude." Another witness testified Anthony responded, "F y'all, I'm not going to leave." And later, quote, "touch me and find out." Now, legal experts say the judge could allow the jury to consider the lesser charge of manslaughter in addition to murder. And if the jury doesn't reach a verdict by the end of the day, the judge said they're going to be sequestered. They won't be allowed to watch TV or have their phones or social media. We are just waiting for those closing arguments now to start, Bill.
Got it. Thank you, Brooke. McKinney, Texas, Collin County, just north of Dallas. We are waiting and watching from here. Thank you.
And John Hughes, a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and UC Berkeley law professor and a friend. Thanks for being here. Here's something from one of the witnesses. This is the witness being asked, saying, "I think Carmelo was in the wrong." The prosecutor asked, "Did Carmelo Anthony provoke
we know
the
he was
confrontation?" And the witness said,
not guilty.
"Yes." I know it's not unusual for defendants not to take
Not
the stand. Did
guilty.
that surprise you at all?
It does, because it sounds like the defense didn't put on very many witnesses at all, Dana. And the key to being able to put
Zero.
on a case of self-defense to justify a killing that everyone, including the defendant,
Let him go.
admitted
Not
he
guilty,
did,
bro.
that he conducted, is that he has to show
he
that
didn't
he
commit
could
no crime.
reasonably believe that it was necessary for him to use force
He didn't commit
in
no
order
crime,
to stop
man.
an imminent
Not
attack
guilty.
on him. And so that depends on what did he see? What did he think? What was his reasonable belief about what was to happen? Now, it's the case we saw, for example, in the O.J. Simpson trial where the defendant didn't testify and eventually got acquitted. But I think it's very risky. I think the jury here will want to know what was in Anthony's mind, and they're going to be left really with the mountains of evidence that looks like the prosecution put on instead.
Right. And here is something from the Frisco police office talking about the laws in regards to knives, saying that he testified that knives under 5 inches are not illegal to carry in Texas. While they are against school policy, they are not illegal. Would that at all have helped the defense?
I got to tell you, Dana, I spent the last semester living in Texas, and it's not just knives that people are carrying around for self-defense. I mean, in Texas, you're allowed to walk around with guns to protect yourself. So it's not the weapon itself. It's whether he was justified in pulling it out and whether instead he could have just walked away, or whether he saw enough threatening violence that was going to turn deadly coming towards him. But having the knife itself is not a sign that he went into that tent under Texas law to hurt somebody. It's a reasonable thing to have to protect yourself in Texas.
About a year and 2 months ago,
he didn't do nothing wrong.
Austin's brother was on the Will Kane show. It was a very heartbreaking interview. Then we played just a little bit of it for you here.
And then I whip my head around, and then all of a sudden I see him run down the bleach, just grabbing his chest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Blood rushing out. You know, I mean, he said, "You got stabbed. You got
Got
stabbed."
attacked.
First, I froze for half a second. I didn't know what to do.
G. I ain't trying to talk to these niggas.
I saw him about to fall.
I'm
go over there.
I ain't trying to talk to these same thing to these niggas.
Let's stop.
So that family seeking justice, the jury now will have this. How long do you think it will take them to decide? And will you be able to read any tea leaves if it comes back quickly or if they take a while?
Well, Dana, usually the trial lawyers, handbook says if it's a quick verdict, it usually means a conviction. That if it takes a while, there might be one person or two people who are holding out against a unanimous verdict. The evidence, I have to say, looks pretty overwhelming against Mr. Anthony. But look, this is the beauty of the American jury system, is that you have the jurors there, and any one person can prevent the conviction. Jury has to be unanimous. And so I don't think it's safe to predict what'll happen or not happen. One other important thing your correspondent mentioned was that they could always choose not to convict him of murder, but convict of a lesser charge like manslaughter. And I wouldn't be surprised if the jury maybe went that route here instead.
All right, John Yoo, thank you for joining us today. We'll watch that jury as it gets underway. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
If you got hit, even if you were not driving,
We've got multiple days to unpack here today, and it's not looking good for his defense. Some people calling it crumbling, imploding, and losing the main crux of their defense, which of course was self-defense. And as we've talked a lot about here, you can't provoke your actions. You can't go to somebody, start the altercation, and then claim self-defense and murder somebody, stab them when you don't like their reaction to your provocation. So we've got 2 full days to unpack here together. They had trial on Saturday. The defense has now rested, which means the case will be handing off to the jury. Once closing arguments are completed, they will not hear any additional evidence and they'll have to make their decision. But we've got Brooke Taylor, who was out there this morning. You can see 941. She's given us a little bit of a recap on what she's seeing from there on the scene. Here's what she sounded like before we dive into the testimony.
Hi, Bill. Well, the testimony during this trial has been emotional. The jurors heard from more than a dozen students that were under the tent and saw the stabbing. Now, prosecutors straight up asked several of these witnesses, was this self-defense? And they simply answered no. So Carmelo Anthony, he is charged with murder after admitting to fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the chest during a high school track meet last year. Investigators say the confrontation started after Anthony was sitting under another school's team tent. Witnesses testified that Metcalf repeatedly asked him to leave. Jurors were shown grainy surveillance footage showing the physical confrontation lasted just seconds. Now, an 18-year-old witness who knew both Anthony and Metcalf took the stand. He testified, quote, Carmelo said, "You will have to move me." Austin put his hand on his back. I saw Carmelo's hand go in the backpack. We're at a track meet. I wouldn't expect anything to be in there, Carmelo said. Touch me. You'll have to move me and find out, trying to provoke him.
Wow.
Then what happens? The prosecutor asks. The witness says Austin put his hand on him and falls back. How was Austin trying to move him? The witness says it was him trying to move him off his seat, a soft shove. A 16-year-old witness then testified that, quote, Anthony repeated, F y'all, I'm not going to leave.
Okay.
He said Anthony also threatened, touch me and see what happens.
Okay.
While Metcalf told him, I'm not going to fight you.
Wow. So
And
not
then
provoking at all.
notably, this was big over the weekend. One of the defense's own witnesses during cross-examination said, quote, I think Carmelo was in the wrong. Prosecutors added, did Carmelo Anthony provoke the confrontation? The witness answered yes. Now the state rested after calling 21 witnesses. Now the defense presenting their case. We're expected to hear from more of their witnesses today, Bill.
Okay, so that's the quick roundup. We've got a bunch more details to get into, but before we dive into every specific witness, here is another report from Mary Ann Martinez. And one of the most frustrating things about this whole trial is that it is not televised. Of course, they televised Kyle Rittenhouse. They, on repeat, 24/7 televised the Derek Chauvin case and the video that was recorded related to that incident so that he could be convicted before the trial even started. None of that happening here, though. Evidence under lock and key. Nobody is allowed to even, as far as I can tell, live tweet from inside the media room. All of this is kind of getting passed outside and then it hits the internet. So no video, no audio, nothing. And we also have a bunch of minors who are testifying, so we can't really even identify them. And we ask ourselves about the racial component because, unfortunately, most things are now about race, even though they shouldn't be. But in this case, some of the witnesses that testified were not white. Here's what Mary Ann Martinez reported. She's over at the Daily Mail, born and raised in El Paso, Texas, the Texas bureau chief for the Daily Mail. There's her email. She says, we have now heard from 6 teens who were at the stadium the day that Austin Metcalf was stabbed by Carmelo Anthony. 4 out of the 6 are black. All have testified that Carmelo Anthony was asked to leave the Memorial High School team tent, provoked Austin, and pulled a knife before or while Austin had even pushed Carmelo. So as maybe the hand is coming, the knife is going into his chest. Austin said, I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, dude. Austin told Carmelo, according to teen number 3. We heard that last week. During cross, the defense attorney asked him, did he, Austin, grab hold of Carmelo? Teen number 4 said he didn't get the chance to grab hold of him. He was already stabbed. Teen number 6 says, described watching the verbal back and forth between Austin and Carmelo while Carmelo had his hand in his backpack and claimed he had something in his bag. He said the vein in his arm was visible. It looked like he was grabbing something, like he was just ready to go, like white knuckling that knife in a tent where he was not supposed to be. So as we're going through the various witnesses, let's not forget it's not a bunch of white people. There are multiracial individuals testifying in this trial. So here's what happened over Saturday when they came in for day 3 of the trial. And the first witness, the prosecution still had their case in chief, and they called a 17-year-old Memorial High School student to the stand. First witness on the day. He comes in, yes, this is my name. I'm a high school student. I'm going to graduate in 2027. And yeah, I'm on the football and the track team. Who's your coach? Oh, Rob Starr, the coach who we heard from in day 1.
Ice down the cooler. Specs summer sale is on now. From backyard barbecues to poolside pours, find the lowest prices on canned cocktails, seltzers, and more. Make it a summer to remember at Specs. Cheers to savings.
Oh.
This right here is outside the courthouse, man. We waiting for the live footage, man. Outside the courthouse, man.
All of you that are complicit in a system, you too. I see you. Yes, you. All of you are complicit in a fucked up system. And it's still peace, love, unity, and respect. Peace, love, unity, and respect. Peace, love, unity, and respect. Peace, love, unity, and respect.
Welcome back to Court TV Live on our continuing coverage of the verdict in the case against Carmelo Anthony. A jury of 12 has come to a unanimous decision. In under 3 hours, this jury is made up of all non-African Americans, which was a point of contention after jury selection by the defense. Outside of the courthouse in Collin County, located in McKinney, Texas, this is a live picture of the scene outside. You see heavy security, and many people have come out. And this has been the case throughout the trial, that people have come out because it has been a lightning rod, has this case been. There have been no cameras. There were no cameras allowed. So we have relied on our correspondent, Cody Thomas, but all of these people have relied on different news organizations to deliver the details of the trial as it's unfolded. And that, of course, makes a difference, because had a camera been allowed in this case, we all would have witnessed the exact same thing. Not the case in this trial. The closing arguments were done earlier today. Each side only had 35 minutes, and the state of Texas had the last word. And I want to read to you the last words that the prosecutor told this jury. It is your duty to hold this young man accountable for this senseless murder, and send a message that this will not be tolerated in this community. Make justice swift in this case. Michael Jaffer's watching along with us. He's a trial attorney helping us through our coverage. And Michael, eerie words, make justice swift. Indeed, one could argue that maybe this jury listened under 3 hours, coming back with a unanimous verdict in a case that many people probably thought would have taken longer to come to a conclusion of, with 10 or 12 separate jurors. You never know, obviously, but those last words make justice swift in this case. If you're the defense, what are you feeling right now?
You know, this is what I call a toss-up in terms of the jury rejected one of the cases. They just outright, flatly rejected. They either rejected me as a defense attorney or they rejected the prosecution. Obviously, you hope they rejected the prosecution if you're the defense attorney. But they rejected one of the cases, and they are sending a message to one of the parties. They're sending a message that this is complete bunk. Your whole entire case is bunk. We didn't buy anything you said. I mean, again, 3 hours. Can you get 12 people to agree in under 3 hours on anything? Send a message right now in your company right now and ask everybody, where do you want lunch from tomorrow? Just send a message. If you have more than 12 people in your company, send a message. See if you can get 12 people to agree on what lunch will be tomorrow. You can't. It's not possible. And this is a life or death case, right? Life or death, meaning like they could convict this man to life in prison. Essentially, they could convict him of murder, right? Under 3 hours, 12 people. It's unbelievable. Can't even get them to agree on the flavor of sandwich I'm going to bring them, my staff. Tomorrow when I cater. And sometimes I'll just have to cater from 2 different places because I give up on trying to get everybody to agree on where they want lunch from. So this is just
Michael, I got to cut you off real quickly here. We're getting notes from our Cody Thomas, who is now in the courtroom. He says that Carmelo's parents have walked in, and the Metcalfs have also just walked into the courtroom, and it appears as the twin brother Hunter is now with them. Hunter Metcalf, of course, was in the tent during this melee. And did not testify for the state of Texas. Now, maybe he was being held as a potential rebuttal witness if indeed Carmelo Anthony testified, but we know that, of course, Carmelo Anthony declined the opportunity to take the stand in his own defense. But bottom line, just trying to set the scene for our viewers here. Cody Thomas is in place. As soon as the judge takes the bench, Cody is our only way of communication inside that courtroom as we watch the live pictures outside the courthouse. Quickly, Michael, on the Hunter Metcalf, he really was expected to be a huge witness because he was there. He and his brother both went up to Carmelo and confronted him to get out of the tent during this track meet. Didn't take the stand, but he wasn't in the courtroom either, which I opined was, well, maybe they were holding him as a potential witness, as a rebuttal, or maybe he's a young man. He just didn't want to be there during the gruesome reality of the testimony. Overall thoughts on the strategy not to put Hunter on during the case in chief, and then also the fact that he is, according to our Cody Thomas, now there and a huge part of this case.
I have to assume that it was not part of the strategy. I have to assume that this young man just said he doesn't want to testify. There's no way that there would be any strategy that would see you not having a twin brother not testify. He looks just like the victim, and he was there. He was in the tent. I don't think there was a strategy. I think the reason he's there now is because the case is over. He might feel regret not having that. How could you? I don't mean to make this kid feel bad. I hope he doesn't see me saying this, but how could you not support your dead brother, your slain brother, in your parents'
because he watched them die
to get justice for their fallen
he was
son,
the
your
reason
brother.
he died.
There's no way there was a strategy.
Hunter probably could have had this shit set up, and Austin had his brother back.
You know, he was there, and
he was the reason why this shit happened.
His presence in there may have complicated the clean case the state maybe thought they were presenting. Because just judging from the interviews that he has done, it's clear that he was more than willing to talk about his brother and the loss that I mean, can you imagine losing your twin? Oh, but maybe the overwhelming reality of hearing about
his
your
twin
brother's
gone.
loss
He went to the funeral.
You know, you factor in the medical examiner. Who knows? Bottom line is he didn't testify. Neither did Carmelo Anthony. Adding another bit of mystery because the jury didn't hear from either one of these players. You know, there were three.
Lost his brother at the track meet.
Austin, who passed away, Hunter, and Carmelo. Those are the three that know what exactly transpired between the combatants.
What they've been doing all their life.
Even more puzzling that he didn't testify. Listen, maybe it was just strategy. I just don't see how. If it was
white boys out there trying to be
thugs, it was a terrible strategy. If there was a strategy, that's why I gotta assume it's not a strategy because the state of Texas put a lot of resources in trying this case, and clearly they've either won it quickly or lost it quickly. So I just don't see any strategy that the state could have cobbled together that would have told them, hey, it's a good idea not to put him on the stand. Carmelo not testifying, I can understand that. That's one that I totally get. But I just don't see, I can't even imagine a strategy. I can use my imagination. I still can't imagine a strategy that would keep him off the stand.
That was raised with a silver
conversation as well, Sonny. Less than 3 hours. This jury has come to a unanimous verdict. Your initial reaction?
Oh, well, it's fast. I wasn't expecting it to be long, but it's a little quicker than I thought. But they had a lot of evidence. Well, on the prosecution side,
start with your house, and then we're gonna start with your mama's house.
What about what we're watching outside, Sonny?
Grandma's house.
It has calmed down in the last few minutes.
We're gonna figure out where all the kids
gone to their separate corners, but that could change after this verdict, and they'll know right away.
Yeah, my hope is that everyone remains calm no matter what the verdict is, because none of what they do that is destructive, that is agitating or irritating will change the verdict or have
We
any
already know
impact
it's not
except a
guilty.
negative impact. So everybody,
Shit.
no matter where they are
We
in the
already know
world
what's
watching
up.
this, everybody just needs to remain calm, don't engage law enforcement, and don't cause any problems because it's not going to change anything. It's only going to make it worse.
Okay, let's do this. Let's get a commercial break in right
Yeah.
now because
How about-
Cody
right,
Thomas
why
is
they
in the
don't want
courtroom
us to
saying
see
the
what
parties are
happened.
starting
Yeah, they
our
wanna hide.
gathering. Both sets of parents are in the courtroom. The twin brother, Hunter Metcalf, in the courtroom just waiting on the judge and then the jury. Back after this.
I wish I could just watch live sports at home for a great price.